The Empress failed her tribulation and, with no other choice, married me, an old beggar. But what she didn't know was that I'm a transmigrator who was locked up for 100,000 years, back when I was first transmigrated. I thought I was on my way to the peak of my life, but my idiot system sent me to the wrong world. By a twist of fate, I arrived in this dangerous world of cultivation. And to make matters worse, to protect me, the system locked me away in a pocket dimension for a whole 100,000 years. Because the system was incompatible with this world's cultivation methods, it could only force me to practice the sword arts of a high martial world. Now, 100,000 years have passed, and I've finally mastered the strongest sword style in history, but I've also gone completely insane. Looking at White Emperor City before me, tears of joy streamed down my face. Because the first thing I have to do is go to one of this world's cultivation sects and get some elixirs that can restore my youthful looks. Right now, I look like an old man of several hundred years. The system could only grant me eternal life, but it couldn't stop my body from aging. Just as I was admiring the beauty of the world around me, a donkey beside me started speaking. You are now the strongest sword god in all the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Even the top cultivators would have to call you bro. What's all this sniveling about? Have some dignity. This stupid donkey in front of me was no ordinary donkey. It was the transformed version of the system that had screwed me over for 100,000 years. Its nickname is Asha. Back then, to keep me from going crazy while I was locked up, the system thoughtfully turned itself into a stupid donkey. And it ended up keeping me company for a whole 100,000 years. But its companionship was completely useless. It would have been better if it had turned into literally anything else. Since I already hated this broken system to my core, I gave it a good punch the moment I heard it talk. Poor Asha didn't even have time to react and was sent flying, spinning 2.5 times through the air. Then, it scrambled back up, cursing, and started yelling at me, "You old fossil. Would you have your skills today if it weren't for me?" Hearing this, I just reached out my hand. I pulled Asha right into my palm. Then I kicked him, sending him flying again. From the distance, I could hear Asha screaming, "You old fossil. You just wait, I'll be back." After dealing with that stupid donkey, I swaggered right into White Emperor City. I hadn't tasted mortal food for 100,000 years. The delicious smells filling the streets were making my mouth water. I quickly ducked into a tavern that looked decent enough, ready to have a huge feast, but the waiter hesitated when he saw me. Probably because he thought that, in my raggedy clothes, I couldn't possibly afford to pay. But then, I just shook the tattered cloth bag at my waist. Hearing the clinking of metal inside, the waiter's face immediately broke into a huge smile. He started bowing and scraping, eagerly ushering me inside. But as soon as I entered the tavern, the stench from my body spread through the room, making all the other patrons cover their mouths and stare at me. Hearing the murmurs and gossip all around me, the corner of my mouth twitched in annoyance. A tyrannical pressure instantly erupted from my aged body. Everyone was so scared they began to tremble. Not a single person dared to utter another word. Meanwhile, I calmly walked over to a table by the window and sat down. I saw 2 women with slender figures wearing bamboo hats at the next table, and I couldn't help but want to tease them a bit. "Hey there, pretty ladies, how about a smile for your old man?" Seeing that they were both ignoring me, I said with a cheeky grin, "Oh, not gonna give me any face, huh? Fine, then I'll give you a smile." Hey. After hearing that, the woman in the blue gauze skirt couldn't take it anymore and gave me a magnificent eye roll. Just as she was about to retort, she was stopped by the other woman in the long purple dress. She quietly motioned for her not to cause any trouble, so everyone just let it be. Soon, a grand feast was spread out before me. But just as I was stuffing my face with meat, a flamboyantly dressed man appeared at the top of the stairs. But he seemed to see someone who terrified him, actually jumped right out the window to escape, and the 2 women sitting next to me chased after him. Seeing the beauties run off, I also casually grabbed a smoked chicken. I then threw the cloth pouch from my waist onto the table and vanished in an instant. This left only the waiter, who was still preparing the food, gloating to himself. But what he saw after opening the pouch made him completely lose his mind. There wasn't any silver in the bag at all. It was full of silver pills, each the size of a little finger. The waiter sat on the stool, completely dazed. His whole world had collapsed. That meal was worth 5 months of his wages, and all he got in return was a bag of silver pills. But the waiter didn't know, at this time, that this bag of pills would help him become a legend. By the time I chased them out onto the street, the 3 of them were long gone. I immediately furrowed my brow. My right hand formed a sword sign and instantly slashed towards the sky. The next moment, the clouds above were split open. The sky, which had been bright and sunny, suddenly began to rain lightly. So I closed my eyes, and carefully sensed the information brought back by each raindrop. I soon tracked the aura of the 2 women. At this moment, in a courtyard, in the west of the city, the man who was all slicked up in the restaurant was now looking smugly at the 2 tightly bound women in front of him. He then reached out and lifted the hat of the woman in the purple skirt. A face of peerless beauty appeared before him. The man's eyes went wide, and he stood there stunned. Seeing this, the woman in blue burst into tears. It wasn't because she was scared, but because she felt she had gotten her senior sister into trouble. If she hadn't rashly entered this courtyard, her senior sister wouldn't have been caught. In contrast, the woman in the purple skirt was quite calm. She just couldn't figure it out. How did this brat get his hands on the Thousand Souls cult's soul-locking chains? The Thousand Souls cult is a notoriously evil cult on the Nine Heavens continent. They specialize in vile acts like absorbing people's souls and summoning demons. The followers of the Thousand Souls cult are all scum, hated by everyone. Just as he reached out to touch the chest of the woman in the purple skirt, my voice suddenly rang out behind him like a ghost's. "Well, now, you little punk. Having some fun, are we? Count me in." Hearing this, the hair on that kid's whole body stood on end, because this courtyard was clearly protected by a formation array. Yet I had somehow snuck in without a sound. This gave rise to a strong sense of crisis within him. While he was dazed, I gave his butt a vicious slap. The pain almost made him cry, and he hurriedly turned around and roared at me. "Who are you? How dare you interfere with the affairs of my Thousand Souls cult?" As he spoke, he pulled a blood-red jade talisman from his robes and, with a sinister grin, infused his true energy into it. The talisman immediately flared with a wicked light, forming a barrier to protect him. He glared at me viciously, muttering some incantation. It seemed he was activating some secret technique. But seeing it had no effect on me, the kid looked completely shocked. Then, he suddenly jumped onto the wall, trying to escape. "You old fossil, ruining my fun. Just you wait." He hadn't even finished his sentence when a chicken bone imbued with sword intent flew past him. The young man only heard a piercing whistle, and then his thigh was pierced through, leaving a bloody hole. What was more terrifying was that the trace of sword energy remained in the wound, clinging to his flesh and blood like a maggot on a bone, frantically slicing away. The heart-wrenching pain made the young man fall from the top of the courtyard wall. In an instant, cold sweat soaked through his clothes. Then, I turned my head to look at the bound women. The 2 of them were clearly still in a state of shock. When they heard me ask if they were cultivators. Thanks for watching. The 2 of them were cultivators. The woman in the purple skirt was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a bewildered look on her face. I cleared my throat and, pretending to be calm, continued to ask, "So, do you have any pills that can make someone young again?" Hearing this, the woman in the purple skirt breathed a sigh of relief and nodded lightly, saying, "Our Wind and Moon Pavilion has appearance-changing pills, but..." Hearing this, I was so excited I nearly passed out, so much so that I didn't even hear the rest of what she said. I grabbed her small hand and said, "I want to make you my best friend." In the conversation that followed, I learned that the woman in the purple skirt was named Cheng Shi, and the one in blue was her junior martial sister, Zhuer. The 2 of them were under their master's orders to investigate the recent disappearances in Baidi City, but they never expected to fall right into the villain's trap. After hearing their story, I casually unleashed a wave of sword energy and sliced the guy beside us in 2. Then, I plunged both my hands deep into the earth. Just as the 2 of them were wondering what on earth I was doing, the ground suddenly began to shake violently. In the moment I threw that entire patch of earth aside, a thick, metallic stench of blood assaulted my nostrils. The first thing I saw, in the center of the hollow space, was a giant pool of blood, its edges covered in dense, eerie runes. An old man who looked like a withered corpse was sitting in the pool of blood, his eyes closed, completely still. But what truly made the two women break down was the sight of the cavern walls, which were lined with countless desiccated corpses. Anyone could tell that these bodies had once belonged to young women in the prime of their lives. Seeing this hellish scene, Changshi couldn't help but break down, crying her heart out. Unable to contain her rage any longer, she flashed forward, charging at the old man in the blood pool. Just as her attack was about to land, that corpse-like old man suddenly opened his eyes. A wave of tyrannical energy surged forth, and the blood in the pool began to churn violently. It then surged up and crashed down on her. Changshi had no time to dodge. Her inner energy erupted in an instant, forming an eggshell-like shield around her. With a deafening crash, the shield around her shattered instantly. She was sent flying like a kite with a broken string, but my attention was focused entirely on the bodies of those girls. This perpetrator's methods are quite professional. The blood wasn't drained all at once. Instead, it was drained slowly. And while I was muttering to myself, Changshi came flying right toward me. With a light tap, I neutralized the force of the blow, then I caught her steadily in my arms. At that very moment, the old man in the blood pool slowly stood up, letting out bursts of piercing laughter that sounded like a night owl. Just as he was about to use our blood to complete the final ritual, a clear voice suddenly rang out from the distance. "Qianhun, you old bastard. You animal, you deserve to die 1,000 deaths." The voice had barely faded when a woman descended from the ceiling. She landed right in front of us. Seeing this sudden arrival, Changshi immediately burst into tears. It turned out this woman was her martial aunt, Bai Ningming. Seeing this, old man Qianhun calmly stepped out of the blood pool. But with every step he took, his withered body filled out. In the end, he transformed from a shriveled old man into a strapping young man of about 30. Bai Ningning knew exactly what had happened. He had used the blood of hundreds of virgins to nourish his body, which had been ravaged by the laws of heaven. At that moment, Bai Ningning was shaking with rage, her inner energy surging uncontrollably, yet she hesitated, not daring to attack old man Qianhun. Because if a fight broke out, there was no telling how many people in Baidi City would die. At this tense standoff, I dove headfirst right into the blood pool. I thought I might get to be young again, just like old man Qianhun. As it turned out, it had no effect whatsoever. So, getting a little ticked off, I asked him. Hearing me, old man Qianhun told me to get the hell out. And to make things worse, he even called me an old bastard. Now, with my short temper, there was no way I could stand for that. I shot out of the blood pool and lunged right at him. Seeing this, old man Qianhun's eyes narrowed. I was moving too fast. He had no time to dodge. But just as I was about to make contact, a loud crack suddenly echoed from my body, and I fell flat on my face. I mumbled non-stop. Ouch, my poor old back. I'd used too much force and almost broke my back. Seeing this, old man Qianhun let out a cold sneer. Then he pulled out a red, soul-summoning banner. The entire cavern was instantly filled with howling, chilling winds, and fluttering ghostly figures. It was enough to make your skin crawl. But just at that moment, my little donkey, Asha, who was transformed by the system, descended from the sky. Seeing me in such a sorry state, Shah grinned, showing off his two big buck teeth. His expression was as punchable as it gets. I was so angry I got up and gave his donkey head a couple of whacks. The 1,000-soul elder, seeing that we were completely ignoring him, finally couldn't hold back and let out a furious roar. Then, he waved the soul-summoning banner in his hand. In an instant, countless wailing ghosts rushed out of the banner, accompanied by ear-piercing screams. The sound made my scalp tingle. Seeing this, I drew the wooden sword from my waist. I hopped on Asha and charged forward. Bai Ningning was about to step in and help me deal with the 1,000-soul elder, but Changshi desperately held her back. Because he had seen what I could do, that I was even more of a monster than the 1,000-soul elder. When the 1,000-soul elder saw I was already surrounded by the soul-devouring ghosts, a cruel smile touched his lips. These ghouls could directly gnaw on a person's spirit. Compared to physical pain, the agony inflicted upon the soul is 1,000 times worse. But the next second, he wasn't smiling anymore, because Asha and I charged right through the ghouls and arrived in front of him. A closer look revealed that my body was shrouded in a layer of sword energy. The ghouls couldn't even touch me. I slowly raised the wooden sword in my hand. A strange wave of energy suddenly pulsed around us. Then, I slapped the thousand-soul elder across the face with my sword. It sent him flying straight into the cavern wall with a shattering impact. Next, I demanded he tell me his secret to regaining youth. But Bai Ningning, from the side, told me that he always looked like this. It was just because he had done so many wicked things, that his body was eroded by the righteous chi of the heavens, making him old. Now, by using some evil arts, he had restored his body to its original state. The moment I heard that, I felt like I'd been played for a fool. Furious, I swung my sword down at the thousand-soul elder. He could only watch helplessly as a black wave of sword energy shot towards him, but there was nothing he could do. The last thing he heard was the sound of blood spraying everywhere. Then, his body was split in two by the sword energy, drained completely of its blood. When Bai Ningning saw this scene, her eyes went wide with shock. An elder of the thousand-soul sect had just been killed so silently. It felt like a dream to them. Finally, a crisp sound snapped them back to reality. After the sound, Cheng Shi felt a searing pain on his butt, and there I was, standing beside him with my palm raised, savoring the moment. Seeing this, Cheng Shi was both shocked and angry, but when he looked at the thousand-soul elder's body, split in half, he didn't dare to lash out. Bai Ningning, however, gave me a deep bow to thank me for eliminating a public menace, but I just waved my hand, telling her not to be so formal. A rejuvenation pill would be thanks enough. Hearing this, Bai Ningning looked at Cheng Shi in confusion. Cheng Shi, clutching his butt, was gritting his teeth in pain. He told her everything he had promised me earlier. After hearing it all, Bai Ningning immediately frowned. It was only then that I found out the rejuvenation pill is a top-grade elixir. It's a huge pain to concoct, and the Wind Moon Pavilion didn't have any readily available. So, she invited me to stay at the Wind Moon Pavilion for a while, and I could get the pill once it was ready. When I heard they'd cover my food and board, I agreed on the spot without a second thought. Bai Ningning was secretly delighted to hear this. In reality, she had her own reasons for making the offer. Judging by the skills I had just shown, I was, at the very least, a master above the sixth realm. If she could get me to act as a guardian for the Wind Moon Pavilion, they would no longer have to walk on eggshells around other powers. The Wind Moon Pavilion is situated within the Old Lone Mountain Range and has more than 10,000 disciples under its name. Because they mainly cultivate water-based techniques, and most of those are for support, the sect is made up entirely of female disciples. This place is practically a male cultivator's dream paradise, especially Wind Moon Pavilion, which also has 3 great beauties from the Rouge ranking. This made many scoundrels green with envy. Luckily, it's backed by the big tree that is the Green Cloud sect. Although its own strength isn't much, it has been under the Green Cloud sect's protection all these years. Life has been relatively peaceful. But today, Bai Ningning brought me back. She proposed that I become a guest elder of Wind Moon Pavilion. That really stirred up a hornet's nest. A gaudy woman in a floral dress was the first to jump out, shouting at the top of her lungs, "No way! This woman's name is Xiao Mingyue. She is also a guest elder at Wind Moon Pavilion." The reason she's so agitated is as simple as can be. Wind Moon Pavilion only has so much turf, and the resources were already not enough to go around. There are already 3 guest elders. If another one is added, the monthly offerings would be cut by a huge chunk. Xiao Mingyue got more and more worked up as she spoke. Spit was practically spraying onto Bai Ningning's face. But Bai Ningning is no pushover. She started arguing with her right then and there, making Xiao Mingyue's face turn beet red with anger. On the main seat in the hall sat a beauty in palace attire, propping up her chin. She watched Xiao Mingyue throw a fit with a bored look on her face. This woman isn't just the number 2 beauty on the Rouge ranking. She is also the master of Wind Moon Pavilion, Nangong Qingyue. Seeing the two of them argue more and more fiercely, Nangong Qingyue waved her hand with a smile and interrupted them. Afterwards, she brought everyone from the meeting hall to meet me. When Xiao Mingyue saw my ragged appearance, she actually dared to threaten Nangong Qingyue. "If you dare let this old geezer in the door, I'll leave Wind Moon Pavilion immediately." But Xiao Mingyue never imagined that Nangong Qingyue would agree without a second thought. The scene instantly became painfully awkward. How could Xiao Mingyue bear to leave? She gets food, drink, and resources here. Most importantly, she doesn't have to risk her life. She'd have to have water on the brain to leave. She quickly tried to smooth things over, saying, "If this undying old fossil joins Wind Moon Pavilion, what if he stirs up some kind of trouble?" But before she could finish her sentence, I raised my hand and gave her a slap. A sharp smack echoed, stunning everyone on the spot. Although Xiao Mingyue was mean and vicious, she was a martial realm master, after all. Faced with this simple, unadorned, yet deeply humiliating slap, she was actually too stunned to react. Seeing me wipe my hand on my clothes as if it were dirty, Xiao Mingyue was like a cat whose tail had just been stepped on. The true essence in her entire body erupted outwards as she took a fierce step forward. She swung to slap me with all her might. I didn't expect her to have so much guts. In my entire life, I'm the one who slaps others. When has it ever been someone else's turn to slap me? I made up a sword technique on the spot, slamming my right hand ferociously onto the ground. Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass filled the air. Xiao Mingyue only felt a sharp pain in her back. Her palm stopped right in front of my face, unable to move another inch. She looked down dumbly at her chest. A transparent ice sword had actually pierced through her protective aura. It was lodged right in her heart. Fresh blood dripped from the tip of the sword. Xiao Mingyue collapsed to the ground. Even in death, she couldn't understand where that ice sword came from. Only the pavilion master, Nangong Qingyue, who was standing nearby, figured out some of the trick. I had created this ice sword by condensing the moisture in the air. But what she hadn't expected was that this ice sword's power was actually so immense. It could actually kill a fifth realm cultivator outright. Nangong Qingyue's expression turned extremely grim. Xiao Mingyue's death wasn't a pity. For Wind Moon Pavilion, her death was practically a cause for great celebration. But Xiao Mingyue had a brother named Xiao Yuanhang. He is an elder of the Heavenly Dragon sect. Although the Heavenly Dragon sect is also just a mid-tier sect, its strength is far greater than Wind Moon Pavilion's. This is also why, for hundreds of years, Xiao Mingyue, this was why Nangong Qingyue didn't dare to forcefully kick him out, even as he was shamelessly plundering the Wind Moon Pavilion's resources. I glanced at Xiao Mingyue's body on the floor and rolled my eyes hard. I even made a point to spit on him, and I noticed the expressions on Nangong Qingyue's group turn sour. I knew this wasn't over yet, so I just nonchalantly said from the sidelines, "Don't worry, little lady. I'm the one who killed him. I'll take full responsibility for whatever happens." Upon hearing that, Nangong Qingyue's composure returned. She quickly had her people dispose of the body, and after everyone else had left, Nangong Qingyue came over to take my arm, preparing to discuss the matter of refining the rejuvenation pill. Perhaps my little display earlier had put her mind at ease, because while she was holding my arm, she deliberately pressed my arm against her chest. Because from her point of view, I had to be a grand cultivator of at least the 6th realm, so now she was dead set on making me stay. No matter the price, as long as I was willing to be the protector of the Wind Moon Pavilion, then many of her problems would be solved. Even the issues with the Qingyun sect. When she saw me pull my arm away from her chest, Nangong Qingyue froze for a moment. She bit her lip, her eyes welling up. Heh, as if I didn't know what she was up to. So I just smiled and waved my hand, telling her there was no need to degrade herself like that. This place has such beautiful scenery, and so many lively young ladies. It's the perfect spot for my retirement. When Nangong Qingyue saw that I was giving her a way out, tears immediately began to well up in her eyes. The world only ever sees the glamour of the Wind Moon Pavilion. They have no idea how difficult things are behind the scenes. For this pavilion, Nangong Qingyue has endured so much hardship and helplessness that outsiders could never possibly imagine. After we got to the reception hall, Nangong Qingyue told me about the ingredients for the rejuvenation pill. She said the Wind Moon Pavilion could gather most of them, but there were 2 things that could only be found in the Maple Forest Secret Realm. It's a pretty special place that only opens once every 100 years. It's filled with all sorts of treasures, but the realm is protected by a strange barrier. Cultivators at the 4th realm or higher can't enter at all. I thought I'd have to wait a good few years. But to my surprise, Nangong Qingyue said the secret realm was opening in just a few days. I was absolutely thrilled to hear that. Nangong Qingyue was a bit taken aback by my reaction. She thought I hadn't understood, so she made sure to repeat herself. No one above the 4th realm can enter the Maple Forest secret realm. I just chuckled when I heard that. What's that got to do with me? I'm not a cultivator anyway. Nangong Qingyue stammered a bit. It was true that I had no fluctuations of true essence, but she still believed I was a practitioner. Otherwise, how could I have dealt with Xiaomingyue so easily? I knew it was too complicated to explain. Our power systems are completely different, so I couldn't be bothered explaining it to her and just said casually, "Just give me a heads up when the time comes." Although Nangong Qingyue's mind was reeling with questions, she knew to quit while she was ahead and didn't press the issue. Then, she brought up the topic of my compensation. She was pretty nervous at first, afraid I would make some outrageous demand. She'd even started imagining the scene of me storming out in a rage because she couldn't meet my price. That is, until she heard me say, "Just give me room and board, and find 2 pretty little maids to pour my tea. That's all I need." Only then did she finally breathe a sigh of relief. Not long after Nangong Qingyue left, Asha, my system, came running back in a huff. I had kicked him 1,000 li away earlier. If he weren't bound to me, who knows how long it would have taken him to get back. Seeing that defiant look on his face, I was the first to speak. "If you dare make another peep, I'll beat the crap out of you." Asha heard that, and immediately lost his nerve. Besides, he was used to it. He gets beaten up every single day. At that thought, he scurried over to me. He wanted to discuss something with me. He'd already figured out this world's cultivation system, but the heavenly Tao was in the way, so he couldn't invade just yet. He hoped I could strike a few blows against the powers of this 9 heavens continent and wipe out a few hundred or 1,000 major sects. Then, when the land is filled with cries of misery, the heavenly Tao will naturally come to destroy me. At that point, he could take advantage of the heavenly Tao dealing with me to sneakily invade. After hearing him out, I glanced at his intelligent eyes, then balled up my fist and smashed it down on his donkey head. Then I lifted my foot and kicked him away again. Although I do have severe violent tendencies, to put it bluntly, I'm a psycho. But what does this stupid donkey take me for? Does he really think I'm some kind of homicidal maniac? As it was getting dark, Cheng Shi and Zhuer came to my small courtyard. They were sent by Nangong Qingyue to take care of me. When the 2 young ladies stepped into the courtyard, my face turned pale with fright. The pavilion master instructed us to fulfill all of Senior's requests, no matter how outrageous they are. When I saw the vegetables and meat in Cheng Shi's hands, I almost shouted with excitement. I quickly went over to take the ingredients and then set up the pot. Before long, waves of aroma drifted out from the small courtyard. Looking at the bright red-hot pot base before me, I was grinning from ear to ear. Once the table was filled with dishes, I happily invited the 2 girls to eat. They looked at me, then at each other, not knowing what to do for a moment. But in the end, they slowly sat down next to me. But this hot pot was insanely spicy. They both took just one bite, and refused to pick up their chopsticks again. In the end, the entire table of meat and vegetables went into my stomach. As for Asha, who I had kicked away, he was now lying on the roof, staring at me with resentful eyes. The next few days were very peaceful, right up until the day the Maple Forest Mystic Realm opened. More than 20 people had gathered on the Tianshui Peak training ground. They were all disciples chosen by Nangong Qingyue. Because the Wind and Moon Pavilion was too weak, it hadn't entered the Maple Forest Mystic Realm for nearly 1,000 years. No strength means you can't seize any resources. It's actually a kind of vicious cycle. If this continues, the Wind and Moon Pavilion will be finished sooner or later. So this time, Nangong Qingyue was very determined and had chosen some elite disciples. They were to enter the Maple Forest Mystic Realm with me, which also served as a trial for them. If these people can make it back alive, they will become the next generation's pillars of the Wind and Moon Pavilion. As the team leader, Bai Ningning took out a bamboo flute and blew lightly. A clear cry suddenly came from the distant mountains. A massive, mountain-sized green bird flapped its wings and flew over to Tianshui Peak with a great whoosh. This is the skyfaring sparrow raised by the Wind and Moon Pavilion. It's incredibly fast. It can reach the Maple Forest Mystic Realm in a single day. I stared at the skyfaring sparrow's thighs, and couldn't help but gulp, saying, "This bird is really plump. It would definitely be amazing in a hot pot." Chang Shi and Zhuer jumped in fright. Others might not know what a hot pot is, but they certainly did. The Wind and Moon Pavilion only has this one spirit beast capable of long-distance flight. If it really got turned into hot pot, they'd have to fly themselves to get anywhere from now on. A long journey would be absolutely exhausting. Seeing how nervous the two of them were, I laughed and waved my hand, saying, "I'm just messing with you. Look how scared you two got." Then, with a light tap of my toes, I landed right on the skywalking sparrow's head. This move stunned everyone. Everyone knows the skywalking sparrow has a foul temper. It never lets anyone stand on its head. Sure enough, the skywalking sparrow wasn't happy. It whipped its head around, trying to fling this old geezer off. But as soon as it felt the killing intent radiating from me, it immediately chickened out. It started trembling like a leaf. Seeing the skywalking sparrow suddenly become so docile, the girls' eyes went wide, and every single one of them was completely dumbfounded. They'd never seen this bird so well behaved. And just like that, I instantly became a towering figure in their eyes. Just as the skywalking sparrow took off, Bai Ningming pulled out a map of the Maple Forest secret realm. I gave it a casual glance, instantly imprinting the entire layout into my mind. Then I nonchalantly replied, "Just tell me what I need to watch out for." And then, I went back to admiring the scenery. Bai Ningming nodded and said, "When we enter the secret realm, we'll be randomly teleported. So for safety, we need to regroup as quickly as possible. Also, the Maple Forest secret realm is only open for 7 days. If you don't make it out in time, you'll have to wait until the next time it opens to get out." And just as she was saying that, a massive streak of light shot past us from a short distance away. This streak of light kicked up a violent gust of wind, blowing the skywalking sparrow off course. Watching the streak of light disappear into the distance, I couldn't help but roll my eyes. What terrible manners. Haven't they ever heard the saying, out of thousands of roads, safety is always number one? Hearing this, my system, Asha, gave me a look with its oh-so-wise eyes, its donkey face looking like it had just seen a ghost. In its eyes, with my explosive temper, that rude streak of light should have been torn to shreds. But instead, I just grumbled a bit and let it go. It was just about to ask me what was wrong with me today, when unexpectedly, that streak of light flew back and blocked our path, forcing the skywalking sparrow to a halt. When the light faded, it turned out to be a giant, winged fish, about the same size as the skywalking sparrow, but its presence was much stronger. They weren't even in the same league. Bai Ningming recognized it at a glance. That's a begonia green fish. It's someone from the spirit beast sect. Her expression darkened instantly. The spirit beast sect is the best at taming beasts. They're regulars in the Maple Forest secret realm, and their overall strength is far greater than our Wind Moon Pavilion. Their disciples are all incredibly arrogant. The Wind Moon Pavilion has suffered at their hands before. Just then, a middle-aged man, standing on the great fish's head, looked at Bai Ningming with a smirk and greeted her in a snide tone. Well, if it is an elder Bai of the Wind Moon Pavilion, looks like you're headed to Dragon's Breath Valley." Hearing this, Bai Ningming shot the man a cold glare. She began to explain to me in a low voice, "That's Zhou Yumin, an elder of the spirit beast sect. His spirit beast is a 3-tailed golden leopard, and he has a history with the Wind Moon Pavilion." After saying that, Bai Ningming looked up at him and said coldly, "And what if we are? Is there some rule that says your spirit beast sect can go, but our Wind Moon Pavilion cannot?" After hearing this, Zhou Yumin scoffed and said, "The Maple Forest secret realm belongs to no one. Anyone can go. It's just... Are you bunch of women going there to be cannon fodder?" Zhou Yumin's words drew a roar of laughter from the others. Nearly every cultivator on the Nine Heavens continent knows that the Wind Moon Pavilion isn't skilled in combat. This bunch of women might be decent at support, but when it comes to fighting for resources, that's just sending people to their deaths. The Wind Moon Pavilion sent people to the Maple Forest secret realm once before, but they were pretty much all wiped out. That's also why, for the past 1,000 years, the Wind Moon Pavilion has refused to enter the Maple Forest secret realm. Bai Ningming's face was flushed with anger, but she was helpless. After all, what he said was true. Seeing Bai Ningming like this, Zhou Yumin grew even more smug. And just at that moment, he saw me lying on the Skystrider Sparrow's head. Seeing my half-dead, decrepit old man appearance, Zhou Yumin couldn't help but burst out laughing. Well, what a rare sight. Since when did you girls at the Wind Moon Pavilion start keeping men? And a decrepit old geezer, no less. If you're that desperate for men, just let us at the Spirit Beast sect know. We have plenty of strong young lads over here. You don't have to be so desperate that you'd stoop to this level. The moment Zhou Yumin said this, it immediately drew a roar of laughter. To the group of young women, these words were as malicious as they could be. The disciples of the Wind Moon Pavilion were red-faced with anger, but they were no match for their opponents. Their eyes were red with fury. Seeing the murderous intent radiating from Bai Ningning, I fanned the flames from the side. Go on, rip that filthy mouth of his to shreds. After hearing this, Zhou Yumin laughed so hard he almost passed out, because he knew Bai Ningning wouldn't dare. But before his laughter even died down, I was already standing right in front of him. Zhou Yumin's heart skipped a beat. Just as he was about to channel his true energy, my withered old hand shot out and grabbed him by the chin. With a crack, I shattered his jawbone. Then, I hooked my middle finger into the corner of his mouth, and with a brutal yank, I tore a huge gash across one side of his face. The other side of his mouth was torn apart as well. Listening to his pig-like squeals, I spun him around to face the members of the Spirit Beast sect. By now, a sliver of sword energy had already entered his body, instantly shredding his meridians to pulp. Forget about begging for mercy now. Even breathing had become a struggle for him. Seeing this horrific sight, the disciples of the Spirit Beast sect were so scared their legs were trembling. But I just grinned and said, "Go on, laugh. Why have you stopped laughing? You were laughing so heartily just a moment ago." Then, with a sudden stomp of my foot, the begonia green fish carrying the Spirit Beast sect disciples didn't even let out a grunt, before its head exploded into a bloody pulp. The fish's corpse dropped straight down, while I had already carved out the most tender piece of meat from the begonia green fish's body. I cheerfully carried it back to the top of the Skystrider sparrow. The whole thing took no more than a few breaths. It was dead silent on the back of the Skystrider sparrow. All the women of the Wind Moon Pavilion were completely stunned. Changshi covered her mouth, and Juer's eyes went wide. Bai Ningning was breathing rapidly, her face pale. Although they knew I was powerful, they never expected me to be so ruthless and decisive. I sat down as if nothing had happened, tossing the piece of fish meat at my feet. I began pulling things out of my cloth sack: pots, bowls, ladles, and basins, jars and bottles of seasoning. I laid them all out. Then I casually conjured some fresh water, washed the meat, and cut it into pieces. I set up a pot and started a fire. My movements were as practiced as if I were in my own kitchen. Soon, the aroma of cooking meat began to fill the air. Only then did the women gradually snap out of their daze. Bai Ningning's face went from pale to ashen. She knew cultivators' methods all too well. Zhou Yumin must have used a secret technique to send a message to the Spirit Beast sect before he died. Those who can enter the Maplewood secret realm are the elites of their sects. Now, they've all fallen here. The Spirit Beast sect will never let this go. Before we left, the Pavilion Master repeatedly warned us to prioritize gathering medicinal herbs, and to avoid conflict at all costs. But look at us now. We haven't even reached Dragon's Breath Valley, and we've already killed an elder from the Spirit Beast sect. We even took their Spirit Beast's meat. This grudge is a huge one. I'm afraid not even the Azure Cloud sect could suppress this. She looked at me. I was focused on dipping the meat in the hot pot, hissing as I breathed in because it was so hot, as if I had just squashed an ant. Bai Ningning took a deep breath. It was too late for regrets. If the Spirit Beast sect comes for revenge, the Wind Moon Pavilion will face them. Having come to this realization, she gave me a solemn bow. "Thank you, Senior, for defending us." I waved my hand and mumbled, "There's plenty of meat. Let's eat together." Bai Ningning shook her head and looked at the fallen fish carcass. "Senior, what about the rest of it? I don't want it." I picked up a slice of fish meat, dipped it in sauce, and popped it in my mouth. "You guys can handle it." Hearing that I didn't want the rest of the fish carcass, she turned and called over Ming Ming. She told her to take some people and process the large fish's body. This azure begonia fish has the bloodline of the ancient Kunpeng. Its entire body is a treasure. Ming Ming nodded eagerly. Don't worry, Elder. It's their own fault for always bullying us. They deserve to die. After hearing what Mingming said, the other girls finally reacted, their fear turning into excitement. They chattered endlessly, their eyes sparkling as they looked at me. In the end, everyone cleaned up and had a fish hot pot together. The skywalking sparrow also swallowed the great fish's inner core. Everyone was quite happy. Only the spirit beast sect was out of luck. The next morning, the skywalking sparrow landed steadily in Dragon's Breath Valley. Over 1,000 people had already gathered here, from more than 30 large and small sects. It was as bustling as a marketplace. The arrival of the Wind Moon Pavilion caused quite a stir. The Wind Moon Pavilion hadn't sent anyone here in the last 1,000 years, so their sudden appearance was naturally surprising. Of course, there was another, more important reason. The female disciples of the Wind Moon Pavilion were all young and beautiful, so they naturally attracted extra attention. When they saw Bai Ningming give me a respectful bow, everyone was dumbfounded. They all started guessing what kind of big shot I was. But the next second, they discovered that I had no fluctuations of spiritual power at all. After Bai Ningming got her people settled, someone soon came to visit. When Bai Ningming saw the visitor, her expression changed involuntarily, because this person was none other than the law enforcement elder of the Heavenly Dragon sect, Xiao Yuanhang Xiao Mingyue's older brother. On the very day I first arrived at the Wind Moon Pavilion, Xiao Mingyue died at my hands for provoking me. Bai Ningming knew about this. And now, her older brother was at their door. How could Bai Ningming not be nervous? But luckily, Xiao Yuanhang didn't know about it yet. As expected, Xiao Yuanhang asked about Xiao Mingyue's recent situation. Bai Ningming quickly explained in a deliberately relaxed tone that Xiao Mingyue had recently had a sudden enlightenment. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuanhang, who was in seclusion at Fenyue Pavilion, smiled with great satisfaction. He gave Bai Ningming one last instruction, telling them to just look around after entering the Maplewood secret realm. They shouldn't fight over any rare treasures. Then, he swaggered away. Because of a barrier within the secret realm, someone of Bai Ningming's cultivation level couldn't get in. So, she gathered everyone for a meeting to discuss their plan after entering the realm. Everyone was to follow Lin Mingming's orders, and there was no need to obtain many rare treasures. As long as everyone came out safely, that was all that mattered. After she finished her instructions, I gave my fingers a light flick, and wisps of faint, transparent sword energy spread out from my fingertips. This sword energy attached itself to the girls at an incredible speed. I scanned the group and said calmly, I promised your pavilion master I'd look after you all, and I intend to keep my word. I've given each of you a stream of my sword energy. It will activate on its own if you're in danger. It can save your life once. After you enter the secret realm, find me, and you'll be safe. Everyone was overjoyed to hear this. They had already witnessed my incredible powers before, so they believed my words completely. There was still half an hour until the secret realm opened. A light drizzle suddenly began to fall in Dragon's Breath Valley. The moment the rain started, the entire valley fell eerily silent, with only waves of killing intent drifting through the air. By the time we reached Dragon's Maw Cliff, the area was already crowded with people. The arrival of the Fenyue Pavilion drew many stares, yet no one dared to so much as whisper. The atmosphere was suffocatingly tense. Everyone understood why. The Maplewood Secret Realm was not only a land of abundant resources, but also a lethal testing ground. Each time it opened, not even 30% of those who entered made it out alive. Just as I was growing impatient, a piercing, tearing sound suddenly echoed through the air. All eyes turned to see a small black dot materializing in the air near the edge of the cliff. It expanded at a visible rate until it was large enough for a person to pass through. Everyone began entering the secret realm one after another, in order of their sex power. Staring at the long queue in front of us, my system. Ah, Sha, said impatiently. Don't you have a sword technique that can cut through barriers? Just slice that damn thing open already. But seeing the blank look on my face, he nearly coughed up a lung in frustration. Yep, your senility is incurable. After waiting for a full 20 minutes at Dragon's Maw Cliff, it was finally Fenyue Pavilion's turn to enter. But just as their leader, Lin Mingming, was about to step through the portal, a bewitchingly beautiful woman stepped forward to block their path. She turned to Bai Ningming and said in a mockingly sweet voice, You should really think this through. The Fengyue Pavilion is already short on people, especially ones with any real talent. If you lose them all, inside this secret realm, I doubt your pavilion will be able to bear the consequences. Hearing this, Bai Ningning's expression turned dangerously dark. This woman was Su Meier, an elder of the Sisan sect. She was once a peak master at the Fengyue Pavilion, but because of some petty nonsense, she defected from the Fengyue Pavilion a century ago, taking several manuals with her. The Fengyue Pavilion had very few offensive technique manuals to begin with, and its loss sent the already struggling pavilion into a decline from which it never recovered. Betraying one's sect is a grave sin in the world of cultivators, but Su Meier somehow pulled some strings. She not only joined the Sisan sect and received their protection, but 30 years ago, she was even promoted to the position of elder. Bai Ningning knew exactly what she was up to. She was just trying to stall them. This was so the Fengyue Pavilion disciples would be at a complete disadvantage the moment they entered the secret realm. Her scheme was utterly vicious. So Bai Ningning didn't bother wasting words on her. With a wave of her hand, she sent a white silk ribbon flying out. Su Meier gave a contemptuous smirk and then lightly flicked her finger. The little red sword shot out with a whoosh, directly shredding Bai Ningning's ribbon to bits. Bai Ningning's heart sank. He quickly retreated, surging his chi. He formed an invisible wall of chi, but the little red sword didn't chase after him. It just hovered quietly in front of Su Meier. Then, we heard Su Meier say smugly, "This is the flying sword I traded 4 Wind Moon Pavilion techniques for. What do you think? Impressive, huh?" Those words made Bai Ningning completely lose it. He charged straight ahead to take on the flying sword head-on. Feeling that sharp sword chi, Bai Ningning realized he had been too impulsive, but it was already too late to back out. He could only bite the bullet and face it. Just as he thought he was done for, an out-of-place voice suddenly piped up, "Come here, let me see what's going on." As the voice faded, a bizarre scene unfolded. The flying sword, that was aimed straight for Bai Ningning's throat, actually made a sharp turn and flew over to me. The flying sword that was aimed straight for Bai Ningning's throat actually made a sharp turn and flew over to me. This surreal scene left the girls completely stunned. Flying swords are connected to their masters' minds. They had never heard of a sword betraying its master mid-battle. Su Meier was both shocked and terrified. She quickly activated the sword command, trying to regain control of the flying sword, only to find that it had completely severed its connection with her. Watching the little red sword happily darting around me, everyone's faces were filled with even more disbelief. As for me, I looked at the little sword with great interest and said, "This is a bit interesting, you stupid donkey. This little thing has strong sword chi, but it doesn't have much sword intent." Hearing this, Aosha, his eyes full of wisdom and disdain, said, "What is this piece of junk? Even one of your farts would have stronger chi than this thing. Can't you show a little more promise? What a discour. Ah. I'll be back." Watching Asha get kicked off the cliff by me, I let out a deep breath. I felt more refreshed than ever. But just as we were about to step into the mystic realm, the Wind Moon Pavilion trader, Su Meier, blocked our path, even showing off that she used 4 Wind Moon Pavilion techniques to trade for that red flying sword. Looking at her disgusting expression, I just gave a little wave of my hand and completely severed the connection between Su Meier and the flying sword. Seeing the sword darting around me like a puppy, Su Meier nearly lost her mind. She lunged straight at me. However, to everyone's astonishment, the little red flying sword actually moved to protect its master on its own. With no one commanding it, it turned around and shot straight for Su Meier. It directly shredded her protective aura, and she was instantly sent flying. Seeing Su Meier in such a pathetic state, I gave a huge roll of my eyes. Then, with my hands behind my back, I started walking towards the passage to the mystic realm. The little red sword saw that I was leaving, and hurriedly flew back, circling around me non-stop. Seeing this, I said irritably, "What do you want? You're so weak, why are you following me?" The little sword seemed to understand my words. Its entire blade suddenly dimmed. Seeing it act like a little girl about to cry after just a few words, I sighed and pursed my lips, then pointed at Bai Ningning and said, "I've got a mission for you. Protect this little chick here. When I get out, I'll imbue you with a spirit or something." Upon hearing this, the little red sword's dim blade suddenly began to glow again. As if filled with endless power, he hurriedly flew to Bai Ningning's side. The sword aura radiated menacingly, as the bonfire inside the cave crackled. It cast a faint red glow on the women's cheeks. Chang Shi held a piece of cured beef, staring blankly into the night at the cave entrance. Zhu'er sat down beside her and whispered, "Senior sister, are you worried about our senior?" Chang Shi nodded, then shook her head. "Our senior is so powerful, he'll definitely be fine. It's just, this mystic realm is so bizarre. It gives me the creeps." Before she finished speaking, another rumble echoed from the distance. This time it was closer, like the mountains were collapsing, and dust fell from the cave ceiling. The women scrambled to their feet in a panic. Lin Mingming motioned for silence, listening intently. Mixed in with the rumbling was a faint screech, not quite like that of a beast, shrill and ear-piercing. "It's the lava behemoth," an older disciple said, her voice trembling. "Legend says an ancient fire spirit lies deep within this mystic realm. It slumbers at the bottom of the volcano. If it's awakened, it will trigger an eruption of earth fire. The stone forest we're in is less than 100 li from the volcano." Lin Mingming's face turned pale. "If that's true, we have to leave immediately." "But our senior isn't back yet," Cheng Shi said anxiously. Lin Mingming gritted her teeth. "We'll wait one more hour. If our senior hasn't returned by then, we leave without him. We'll head toward the realm's exit." Everyone nodded and started packing their belongings. The atmosphere was tense. Time ticked by, second by second. The roars outside grew fainter, but the red glow in the sky intensified, staining the night sky the color of blood. A faint smell of sulfur started to fill the air. The temperature began to rise as well. Zhu'er wiped the sweat from her brow. "It's so hot. It feels like we're in a steamer." Suddenly, the warning formation flashed. "Something's approaching," Lin Mingming hissed. "Be ready." The women quickly got into formation, and the water curtain shield reappeared. Their eyes were fixed on the entrance as a dark figure stumbled inside. It was a rogue cultivator, half of his body charred black. There was a bloody, bowl-sized hole in his chest. When he saw the women, a desperate plea for life appeared in his eyes. "Help me." Behind me, there's a before he could finish. A crimson, scaly claw emerged from the shadows of the entrance, magma dripping from its tips. With a sickening squelch, it pierced through the cultivator's back and dragged him back into the darkness. Terrified screams caught in their throats as the women clamped their hands over their mouths. They watched, frozen, as the claw retracted. Chewing sounds echoed from just outside the cave, followed by the sickening crunch of bones. A moment later, a massive creature blocked the entrance. It was the lava behemoth. It stood about 30 feet tall, with 2 horns on its head. Molten rock flowed all over its body. With every step it took, it branded a scorched footprint onto the ground. The behemoth lowered its head, its crimson eyes scanning the inside of the cave as embers shot from its nostrils. Lin Mingming forced herself to stay calm, signaling for everyone to slowly back away, but the cave was narrow with nowhere to escape, and the giant beast seemed to be enraged. With a low roar, it opened its mouth and spewed scorching flames. The water screen shield fluctuated violently, and most of it evaporated in an instant. Several disciples, their energy failing, coughed up blood as they saw the shield about to break. The sword energy around Chang Shi suddenly erupted, transforming into a streak of white light. It shot straight for the giant beast's eyes, and the beast shut them. The sword energy struck its eyelid, sending only a few sparks flying. It cried out in pain. Growing even more furious, it slashed at the shield with both its claws. At this critical moment, the red sword on Bai Ningning's shoulder hummed and flew out. The sword's light flared, transforming into a crimson streak. It wrapped around the giant beast's left claw. The red sword was highly sentient, specifically targeting the weak points in the beast's joints. However, the beast's hide was too thick and tough, the sword could only barely restrain it. Lin Mingming seized the opportunity, commanding the other women to counterattack as ice spikes and water arrows rained down on the giant beast, but they couldn't even pierce its scales. The giant beast swiped down with its right claw. The shield finally shattered, and a powerful blast of wind swept through. The women were thrown against the cave wall like kites with their strings cut. Zhu'er was the closest. Just as she was about to be struck by its sharp claws, she closed her eyes in despair. Suddenly, she felt a lightness at her waist as the wooden sword I had given her flew out on its own. It grew rapidly in midair, becoming the size of a door to block the attack in front of her. Clang! The sound of clashing metal was deafening. The wooden sword was completely unharmed, but the beast was forced back half a step by the impact. It froze for a moment, as if not expecting this piece of junk wood to be so tough. Then, it flew into a rage, and the lava covering its body began to boil. Its claws burst into roaring flames as it lunged forward again. The wooden sword hovered in the air, and faint patterns appeared on its blade. They resembled some kind of ancient runes. The sword didn't dodge or retreat. Its tip aimed at the giant beast and quivered slightly. Without a sound, the giant beast's movements suddenly froze solid. The lava flowing over its body cooled at a visible rate, turning black and cracking. Finally, with a crumbling sound, it shattered into a pile of charcoal. Only a crimson inner core was left, rolling on the ground. The cave fell deathly silent. The women were all completely stunned. The wooden sword shrank and flew back to Zhuer's waist, as if nothing had ever happened. After a long moment, Changxi murmured, "The sword that senior gave us. It's so powerful." Lin Mingming wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes were filled with awe as she collected the giant beast's inner core. She said in a solemn voice, "We shouldn't stay here for long. Let's leave immediately." Everyone scrambled to their feet. Helping one another, they fled the cave. The scene outside was even more horrifying. The sky was crimson like blood, and a volcano was erupting in the distance. Lava poured down like a river, turning the mountain forest into a sea of fire wherever it flowed. Waves of heat rolled through the air, and a single breath was enough to scorch their throats. Lin Mingming determined the direction and led the group swiftly to the east. Along the way, they saw countless cultivators fleeing in a panic, some being chased by demonic beasts, others falling into chasms in the earth. Their screams were endless. The secret realm had become a living hell. As they reached a valley, the sound of fighting suddenly erupted from ahead, mixed with a woman's sharp cries. "Those are Wind Moon Pavilion techniques." Lin Mingming's expression changed. She rushed over to see what was happening. In the valley, over a dozen Wind Moon Pavilion disciples were fighting a group of black-robed people. Several bodies lay on the ground. The black-robed people used strange techniques, their attacks wreathed in black energy. Anything it touched would corrode instantly. The Wind Moon Pavilion disciples were losing ground. The female cultivator leading them was none other than Tian Shui Peak's senior sister, Lu Ruyan. "Senior sister Lu!" Lin Mingming shouted. She led her group into the fray. Seeing that reinforcements had arrived, the black-robed people attacked even more fiercely. One of them laughed. "Little ladies from the Wind Moon Pavilion. Perfect for refining into souls." With that, he summoned a black banner. Shadowy figures flickered across its surface, letting out piercing wails. Lu Ruyan's face paled. "It's the remnants of the Thousand Souls cult. No wonder the secret realm is in chaos. It must be their doing." The banner swayed, and dozens of ghostly figures lunged out, specialized in devouring souls. The women all felt dizzy, finding it hard to channel their true energy. Gritting her teeth, Lin Mingming activated her red sword. It transformed into a ray of blood-red light, slashing towards the black banner, but it was entangled by the ghostly figures, unable to break free for a moment. Just then, two more disciples were corrupted by the black energy, falling to the ground and convulsing. The sword energy on Changxi and Zhuer activated again, destroying several ghostly figures. But the sword energy was finite and had already dimmed significantly. The black-robed leader sneered. "Let's see how long you can last." Just as he was about to use another evil technique, a sound of something tearing through the air came from the sky. A figure fell like a meteor, crashing into the valley with a boom. The ground cracked and dust billowed everywhere. When the dust settled, I was holding a Sha by the ear. I slowly stood up and glanced at the battlefield. Well, now, quite a lively scene. "Senior!" The women cried out in pleasant surprise. The black-robed leader's pupils contracted. He sensed no fluctuation of true energy from my body, yet felt an inexplicable terror. He shouted sternly. "Who are you? The Thousand Souls cult is conducting business. Outsiders, get lost." I cleaned out my ear. The Thousand Souls cult? You lot are like a haunting presence. A sha thrashed its four hooves. Let go, you old coot. My ear's about to fall off. I let it go and looked at the black-robed leader. I already slaughtered your cult leader. And you little minions still dare to show your faces? Impossible. The black-robed leader said in shock. The cult leader was at the peak of the sixth realm. How could he? Before the black-robed leader could finish, I flicked my finger. An invisible stream of sword energy shot through the air, so fast it didn't even leave an afterimage. The sneer hadn't yet faded from the black-robed leader's face when a small red mark appeared between his brows. He froze, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. He looked down at his chest, which was completely unharmed. Yet, his life force was draining away rapidly. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. His body, starting from his fingertips, began turning into fine, black, sand-like particles that scattered away. In the blink of an eye, his entire body was like a sand sculpture caught in the wind, completely crumbling away, not even leaving his clothes behind. Only a wisp of black smoke rose up. The valley was deathly silent. The other men in black robes were all dumbfounded. They hadn't even clearly seen what happened, before their leader had turned to dust and smoke. After a brief moment of shock, fear flooded their minds like a tidal wave. Someone let out the first scream. Run! The dozen or so men turned and fled. Scrambling in a panic, some flew on their swords, while others slapped on talismans, wishing they could grow another pair of legs. I let out a breath, ever so casually, like brushing dust from a table. That breath transformed the instant it left my lips, turning into dozens of invisible sword auras, scattering like fine threads of rain. They precisely pursued each fleeing man in black. The sword auras were silent, but their speed was terrifyingly fast. The man who had fled the farthest was already hundreds of yards away. Suddenly, he felt a chill in his back. He looked down, and saw the tip of a blade sticking out of his chest. There was no blood. Only a faint black mist seeped from the wound. He opened his mouth, and fell rigidly to the ground. The others met the same fate. Whether they dodged or tried to block, the sword auras followed them like shadows, piercing their backs for a single, fatal blow. Bodies fell one after another, hitting the ground with dull thuds. The soul-summoning black banner, now uncontrolled, fell to the ground with a flap. The ghostly figures coiled on it shrieked and struggled, but were swept away by a lingering trace of the sword aura. Like boiling water on snow, they wailed as they dissolved into wisps of smoke and vanished. The women of the Wind Moon Pavilion stared blankly at the scene. The Thousand Souls cultists, who had been so menacing moments before, were annihilated in the blink of an eye, without even putting up a decent fight. Lu Ruyan's lips trembled, her eyes filled with awe as she looked at me. Lin Mingming gripped her sword hilt tightly, her palms slick with sweat. Meanwhile, Chengxi and Zuer let out a huge sigh of relief, their legs going weak. They nearly collapsed. Sha walked over, pawed at the fragments of the black banner with its hoof, then snorted in disgust. Garbage. I bent down and picked up a piece of the banner, wiped my hands with it, and casually tossed it aside. Let's go, we'll go check out the volcano. The women snapped out of their daze as if waking from a dream, and hurriedly fell into formation, following in my footsteps. The valley fell silent once more. Only the fragments of black robes scattered across the ground remained as proof of what had just occurred. The rogue cultivators, watching from a distance, were already scared out of their wits. They hid far away, not daring to come anywhere near the Wind Moon Pavilion's group. Lu Ruyan stepped forward and performed a deep, formal bow. Model. Her dress was stained with blood and her hair disheveled, yet it couldn't hide the gratitude in her eyes. Thank you for saving our lives, Senior. The other disciples from Fengyue Pavilion also bowed one after another. Their expressions were reverent. I waved my hand. My gaze swept across the women. Each one was injured, their clothes torn. Some had scorched arms, while others had wounds on their legs that exposed the bone. Though their injuries weren't fatal, it was a wretched sight. You're all injured. Tend to your wounds first. With that, I rummaged through a tattered cloth pouch at my waist and pulled out a few shriveled herbs. Their leaves were dusty gray, and their roots were still caked with mud. I tossed them casually to Chengxi. Crush these and apply them. They'll heal faster that way. Chengxi hastily caught them. She hesitated for a moment. The herbs looked completely unremarkable. They were even a little withered and yellow, but she knew what I was capable of and didn't dare to delay. She called Jur over to help and found a clean stone. She placed the herbs on top and carefully pounded them with the hilt of her sword. As the herbs were crushed, a vibrant green juice seeped out, and a peculiar fragrance filled the air. Just smelling it was invigorating. The other women gathered around curiously. Cheng-Shi dipped her finger in the paste and spread it on one of the disciples' burned arms. As the paste touched her skin, a faint white smoke began to rise. The disciple hissed in pain, and then her eyes shot wide open. She watched as the scorched, dead skin rapidly peeled away, revealing pink, new flesh underneath. In just a few breaths, the wound was completely healed, leaving only a faint red mark behind. The women gasped in astonishment. Even Lu Ruyan had a look of temptation on her face. A healing effect like this. I'm afraid not even a 6th grade medicinal pill could match it. Cheng-Shi and Jur moved faster, distributing the paste among the injured disciples. For a moment, the valley was filled with sharp intakes of breath and cries of amazement from the tingling itch of healing wounds. The sensation made many of the disciples purse their lips to keep from laughing. Lu Ruyan waited until everyone had finished applying the medicine. Only then did she step forward to report, "Senior, we were gathering moon-gazing grass on the western side of the secret realm when we were suddenly ambushed by members of the Thousand Souls cult. They greatly outnumbered us and had set up a trapping formation. We fought hard but were overpowered, and we lost 3 of our sisters in the process." Her eyes were rimmed with red. She gritted her teeth and continued, "In the heat of the battle, I saw 2 figures in black robes heading in the direction of the volcano. They were carrying a blood-colored sacrificial vessel, and I could faintly see the glow of an evil formation at the volcano's crater. It looked like they were summoning something." "No wonder the lava behemoth went berserk," Lin Mingming murmured in sudden understanding as she looked to the west. "That behemoth sleeps deep within the volcano and isn't easily awakened. The evil formation must have disturbed the earth fire, and that's what drove it into a frenzy." Lu Ruyan nodded in agreement. "That's right. After we escaped, we tried to send for help, but we discovered the space within the secret realm was in chaos. Our communication talismans were useless, so we had no choice but to flee east. Along the way, we ran into several more waves of demonic beasts, and my sister's injuries grew worse. We were fortunate that you saved us, Senior." I narrowed my eyes, looking in the direction of the volcano. The sky was still stained crimson, and black smoke billowed endlessly. I could faintly feel a strange fluctuation coming from that direction. "Summoning. Interesting. Let's go take a look." With that, he turned and left. Sha popped out from the nearby bushes, still chewing on a piece of a poisonous vine. Hearing the words, he came closer. "Old man, that formation is a bit strange. I just sensed a trace of an otherworldly aura. Those lunatics are probably trying to summon a celestial demon. You'd better watch out and not mess this up." I kicked him away with 1 foot. "You talk too much." Sha cried out. He flipped twice in the air and landed in a roll, covered in mud. He got up, muttering and cursing, "No good deed goes unpunished. Don't expect me to save you when you get eaten by a demon later." The women listened in horror. The words celestial demon are taboo on the 9 heavens continent. Legend says they are evil beings from another world that feed on the souls of the living. One descended 10,000 years ago, causing a great catastrophe. If the Thousand Souls sect is truly summoning this creature, I'm afraid no one in this secret realm will survive. Lu Ruyan said anxiously, "Senior, if it's really a celestial demon, shouldn't we retreat first? To warn the other sects and prepare our defenses?" I didn't even turn my head. "Retreat? We're already here. Let's take a look before we leave." The women looked at each other. After resting for a moment, the team had grown. Together, they headed for the volcano. The closer they got to the volcano, the higher the temperature, and the ground became scorching. Ordinary disciples had to circulate their energy to resist it. I walked as if on flat ground and even let out a yawn. Arriving at the crater, they saw lava churning below. A black altar floated in the center, covered in blood-red runes. It gave off a thick, foul smell. Hundreds of bodies were piled around the altar. Their fresh blood formed streams that flowed into the top of the altar. A mass of black mist roiled, and within it, struggling faces could be faintly seen. It really is a demon summoning formation. Lu Ruyan gasped. The Thousand Souls sect wants to summon an otherworldly celestial demon. If they let that creature descend, everyone in this secret realm will die. We must stop them. Around the altar, dozens of black-robed guards saw us reach the top. They shouted in unison, raising the bone staffs in their hands. Incantations poured out like a tide, and the black mist churned. Countless pitch-black tentacles, as thick as a man's arm, shot out from it. Their surfaces were covered in suckers and spikes, and they writhed as they attacked everyone. Though startled, the women were not in chaos, and quickly formed a defensive formation. Layers of water-screen shields rose up. The tentacles slammed against the shields, making a sizzling, corrosive sound as white smoke rose. The shields quickly thinned. Lin Mingming's red sword left its sheath. It transformed into a streak of blood-red light, severing 7 or 8 tentacles with a single strike. Black blood spurted from the severed ends, turning into small snakes on the ground that slithered forth to attack again. However, the tentacles were endless. Every time one was cut, it would split into 2 from the cut, multiplying the more they were severed. In just a moment, the group was surrounded by a sea of tentacles. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but writhing, dark shapes. The protective shield was wavering, and several disciples had exhausted their true essence. Blood was trickling from their mouths and noses. They clearly couldn't hold on much longer. Lu Ruyan also summoned her blue sword, and they combined their blades. They slashed open a narrow path, but the tentacles quickly closed in again. The path vanished in an instant. Lin Mingming's forehead was beaded with sweat from anxiety. She turned to look at me. "Senior, what do we do?" I was squatting off to the side, weighing a piece of volcanic rock I'd picked up. Hearing her, I scratched my head. What a pain. Then, I stood up. I dusted off my hands, took a step forward, and faced the noisy altar. Then I shouted, "It's too loud." My voice wasn't loud, it was even a little mumbled, but it struck everyone's ears like a thunderclap from the heavens. In that instant, the entire volcano fell deathly silent. The sound of the wind, the chanting, the squirming of the tentacles, all of it vanished. Even the churning black mist froze in midair. It was as if time itself had stopped. The tentacles stiffened in place, their tips less than 3 inches from the nearest disciple's nose, yet unable to advance another inch. The churning of the black mist slowed drastically, revealing the faint, struggling faces within. Those faces were contorted, as if they were letting out silent screams. The blood-red runes on the altar flickered, like a candle sputtering in the wind. The black-robed figures all spat out blood as the bone staffs in their hands cracked and shattered. They stared over in terror, their expressions as if they had just seen a ghost. The elder in the lead asked with a trembling voice, Who are you?" I couldn't be bothered with him and walked over to the side of the altar. I reached out and touched its surface. It was cold to the touch, made of a material like jade, but not quite. It had a faint shimmer. Not a bad material. Pity it's been carved with such trash. With that, I raised my hand and slapped it. The slap landed right in the center of the altar. Crack! A crisp cracking sound echoed as spiderweb-like fissures spread across the altar's surface. In an instant, they covered the entire structure, and the black mist began to churn violently, letting out a piercing shriek, as if something inside was struggling frantically, trying to break free. I frowned. It's still not broken? I lifted my foot and gave it a kick. My foot landed on the spot with the most cracks. Boom! The altar completely collapsed, sending rubble flying as the black mist dispersed, revealing a pitch-black, fist-sized heart at its core. Its surface was covered in vein-like patterns, and it was still beating slowly. Thump, thump. With every beat, it released a ripple of evil energy. A few of the nearby black-robed figures were hit by the ripple. Blood instantly poured from their faces as they collapsed and convulsed. I bent down, picked up the heart, and gave it a squeeze. It felt soft and warm, as if it were still alive. It's soft. I casually tossed it to Asha beside me. Here, a little snack for you. Shah opened his mouth, caught it, and chewed a couple of times. His donkey-like face scrunched up, and he spat it out. Patooey! What is this stuff? It's gamey and bitter. Tastes awful. After saying that, he even dry-heaved a few times. This made all the women unable to hold back their laughter. The black-robed figures saw that their sacred heart was destroyed, and roaring in despair, they charged recklessly towards us. I just waved my hand, and a gust of sword energy swept over them. Dozens of people fell like harvested wheat, becoming silent. The volcano crater grew calm again. Only the howling of the wind remained, along with the faint smell of sulfur and blood in the air. The volcano quieted, the lava retreated, and the temperature fell. The women collapsed onto the ground, feeling as if a lifetime had passed. Lu Ruyan asked in a trembling voice, "Senior, was that heart the core of the demonic beast?" I nodded. But it's gone now." She let out a sigh of relief, but then her expression turned worried again. Was the disturbance in the mystic realm caused by this? I took a moment to sense my surroundings. The formation has been destroyed, and the mystic realm is recovering. The lava behemoth will also return to its slumber. You all should hurry and gather the herbs. The exit will open in 3 days, so don't delay. The women acknowledged the order and split up. Changshi and Jur stayed by my side to help search for the earth core lotus. Soon enough, we found a few stalks on the side of the volcano. After we finished harvesting them, I stretched. Mission accomplished. Time to head home, Asha mumbled. Finally, we can leave this god-forsaken place. 3 days later, the exit to the mystic realm opened. With a bountiful harvest, the women returned safely to Dragon's Mouth Cliff. Bo Ningning was already waiting. Seeing that everyone was unharmed, Red Sword flew back to her shoulder, nuzzling her affectionately. She smiled, looking at me with a soft gaze. Nangong Qingyue came to greet us. Hearing about our adventure left her terrified. She was especially grateful to me. The ingredients for the visage rejuvenating pill were now all gathered, and she personally supervised the pill refinement, while I returned to my small courtyard to continue amusing myself with the birds and the donkey. While waiting for the pill to be completed, the turmoil in the mystic realm had temporarily settled, but on the Nine Heavens continent, a dark tide was rising. The remnants of the Thousand Souls cult had yet to be purged. The Spirit Beast sect and the Heavenly Dragon sect were watching like hungry tigers. It seemed the peaceful days of the Wind Moon Pavilion were numbered. Several days after returning to the Wind Moon Pavilion, Nangong Qingyue personally delivered the visage rejuvenating pill. The pill was a 9-revolution masterpiece, its exotic fragrance filling the room. After I took it, my youthful appearance was fully restored. I had reverted to my youthful appearance. The women were all astonished upon seeing me. Changshi blushed and lowered her head. Jur covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Asha circled around me, muttering. The old coot turned into a pretty boy. Nangong Qingyue took the opportunity to propose that I officially serve as the Supreme Elder of the Wind Moon Pavilion. I waved my hand dismissively. Not interested, but I'm fine with being one in name only. She was overjoyed. She immediately ordered a celebratory banquet. That night, the pavilion was brightly decorated, and everyone, hosts and guests alike, had a joyous time. After the banquet dispersed, I sat alone in the courtyard, drinking. Asha lay nearby, chewing on some grass. Suddenly, a meteor shot across the night sky, trailing a long, fiery tail as it fell towards the west. Asha looked up, its expression grave. Old coot, something wasn't right with that thing. I narrowed my eyes to look in its direction. Where the meteor landed, black energy surged into the sky. Faintly, piercing shrieks could be heard. It's demonic energy. Asha shot to its feet. Although the summoning of the Sky Demon by the Thousand Souls cult was thwarted, a fissure has already opened in the land. It seems the Nine Heavens continent is in for some trouble. I took a swig of wine. What's it got to do with me? Asha said anxiously. If these demonic beasts overrun the world, it'll be doomed. Where will you go to retire then? I was silent for a moment. I got up and went back to my room to sleep. The next morning, Changshi rushed over, her expression panicked. Senior, there's trouble in the west. A black fog is covering a 100-mile radius, wiping out all life in its path. The Azure Cloud sect has issued a call to arms, inviting all sects to join the fight against the demons. The pavilion master asks if you are going. I was brushing Asha's fur and didn't even raise my head. Not going. Changshi hesitated, wanting to speak, but ultimately withdrew. A short while later, Nangong Qingyue came herself. She didn't mention anything about fighting the demons, just placed a jade slip on the stone table and said softly, "This is the sword manual left by the generations of masters of the Wind Moon Pavilion. While it doesn't compare to even a sliver of your prowess, Senior, Perhaps you'll find it somewhat interesting." And with that, she departed. I glanced at the jade slip, picked it up casually, and scanned it with my spiritual sense. The sword manual detailed 72 forms of the water moon sword style. The techniques were elegant and fluid, but they were too soft. I tossed the jade slip to Asha. "Garbage." Asha caught it in his mouth, chewed twice, and gulped it down. The donkey's eyes lit up. A little interesting. There was a spiritual imprint hidden inside. As soon as the words left his mouth, a phantom figure floated up from the fragments of the jade slip. It was a woman dressed in palace attire. Her eyes and brows bore a slight resemblance to Nangong Qinyue. She bowed gracefully to me. "Senior, I, Nangong Yue, the founding matriarch of the Wind Moon Pavilion, left this spiritual imprint for the sole purpose of telling you one thing. The Nine Heavens continent endures a heavenly demon tribulation every 10,000 years. This tribulation is now imminent. I hope that you, Senior, in light of our connection, will ensure the legacy of my Wind Moon Pavilion is not extinguished." The phantom image then faded away. Asha smacked his lips. No wonder this sect is made up entirely of female disciples. The founder herself was a woman. I stared at the fragments for a good while before cursing. What a pain. I got up and went out. Nangong Qinyue was in the main hall, meeting with the elders. Seeing me arrive, all of them stood up. I walked directly to the main seat and sat down. "Well, speak. What's the status of the demonic creatures?" A glimmer of joy flashed in Nangong Qinyue's eyes, as she quickly reported. "The black fog has already spread 3,000 li away. The Azure Cloud sect and 7 other major sects have set up a line of defense, but they're being defeated at every turn, suffering heavy casualties." I nodded. "Got it." Then I closed my eyes to rest my mind. The elders exchanged bewildered glances, not daring to ask any more questions. After a moment, I opened my eyes and looked towards Bai Ningning. "You will take 100 of your elites and come with me." Bai Ningning accepted the command. Cheng Shi and Zhuer quickly stepped forward. "Senior, let us go too." I swept my gaze over them. "Suit yourselves." Half a day later, a sky-soaring sparrow carried the group westward. The farther west we went, the darker the sky grew. The black fog blotted out the sun like a heavy curtain. Below, the vegetation had withered and the rivers ran foul. We occasionally saw refugees, sallow-faced and emaciated, with despair in their eyes. We finally reached the Azure Cloud sect's defensive line. There, we saw cultivators from every sect holding a formation, while outside their barrier of light, hordes of demonic shadows relentlessly assaulted it. The protective barrier flickered unsteadily, threatening to shatter at any second. Ling Jutian, sect master of the Green Cloud sect, saw the members of the Wind Moon Pavilion. A flash of surprise crossed his eyes, especially when he saw me, but he said no more, only announcing in a deep voice, "The demonic beasts are ferocious. Be careful, everyone." I leaped from the sparrow's back, walked to the edge of the light barrier, and reached out my hand. The black fog swirled towards it like a living creature, but was shredded by an unseen sword energy. I walked out of the barrier, and the demonic creatures instantly swarmed me like a tidal wave. They came in various forms, among them giant, 2-headed dogs, and 8-limbed spiders, all with eyes glowing red and spewing black gas. The women from the Wind Moon Pavilion gripped their swords nervously, but I just gave a yawn and waved my hand. A fan-shaped wave of sword energy swept outwards. Wherever it passed, all the demonic creatures were cut in half at the waist. The black gas scattered, leaving a large, empty clearing. All the cultivators stared, dumbfounded. Ling Jutian was utterly astonished. He was at the peak of the 6th realm, and knew full well he couldn't have done that so effortlessly. I continued to walk forward. With every step, the sword energy radiating from my feet expanded outwards in a circle. The demonic creatures charged forward wave after wave, but none could get within 3 zhang of me. Bai Ningning led her group and followed close behind. The red and blue swords flew out together to slay the stragglers. With wooden swords in hand, Cheng Shi and Zhuer also cut down several demonic beasts. After venturing 100 li deep into the black fog, a rift valley appeared before our eyes. The demonic energy was thickest in the valley, where the faint sound of a heartbeat could be heard. Aisha whispered, The rift is at the bottom of the valley, and a big one is about to come out. I nodded, had the women guard the entrance, and entered the rift valley alone. The bottom of the valley was dim. In the center, a void rift was constantly oozing black blood. In front of the rift, a black-robed elder was sitting cross-legged. It was the great elder of the Thousand Souls cult. He opened his eyes, a flash of madness in their murky depths. Why must you meddle in affairs that don't concern you? The arrival of the heavenly demon is decreed by fate. I picked my ear. Fate? That's the one word I can't stand. With that said, I slashed with my fingers, sending a wave of sword energy at the rift. The black-robed elder roared and conjured a bone shield. Thousands of wailing souls emerged from the shield to block it. The sword energy slammed into the shield. After a brief stalemate, the shield suddenly shattered into pieces. The elder coughed up blood and was sent flying, while the remaining force of the sword energy struck the rift. The rift shook violently, spewing black blood. It didn't close, but instead widened a little. An angry roar echoed from its depths. A giant claw emerged, its scales pitch black and its talons like knives. As it slashed towards me, I dodged to the side. The giant claw slammed into the ground, leaving a deep trench. A little interesting, I said with a raised eyebrow. I drew the wooden sword from my waist. The patterns on its blade lit up, and I brought it down on the giant claw. As the light from the blade passed, scales shattered, and black blood rained down. The giant claw retracted in pain. The roars from within the rift grew louder. The black-robed elder struggled to his feet and began to laugh like a madman. It's useless. The heavenly demon has already locked onto this realm. You can't kill it. I ignored him and slashed again with my sword. This time, I aimed for the heart of the rift. The blade's light vanished into the darkness, followed by the sound of a dull thud. A blood-curdling shriek followed. The rift began to shrink as the black blood flowed back into it. The black-robed elder's expression changed drastically. Impossible. The heavenly demon is immortal. I sheathed my sword. Immortal? Then I'll just have to slash it a few more times. With that, I swung 9 times, each slash hitting the exact same spot. The rift finally gave way and collapsed with a roar. At the last second, a single crimson eye glared at me, filled with venomous hatred. With the rift gone, the demonic energy in the valley began to fade. Sunlight broke through, illuminating the scene of destruction. The black-robed elder, his aura depleted, collapsed to the ground. I walked over to him. How many are left in the Thousand Souls cult? The elder just gave a wretched laugh without answering. Kill me. I'll grant you that wish. Then, I finished him with 1 slash. As I walked out of the Rift Valley, the women came up to meet me. Seeing that I was unharmed, they all sighed in relief. Bai Ningning reported. Most of the demonic beasts outside the valley have been cleared out. The remaining ones have scattered, and the other sects are pursuing them. I nodded. Let's head back. Ling Jutian rushed over with his followers and bowed solemnly. Thank you, Senior, for preventing this disaster. I gave a dismissive wave. We're leaving. Back at the Wind Moon Pavilion, Nangong Qingyue hosted a banquet to celebrate. All the sects sent gifts of thanks, filling up the storehouses. The reputation of the Wind Moon Pavilion grew immensely. It was on the verge of becoming a top-tier sect. However, after just a few days of peace, trouble came knocking again. One day, as I was fishing in the courtyard, Aisha's ears suddenly twitched. Someone's coming. They're very strong. Before she had even finished speaking, a figure appeared out of thin air. It was a man dressed in green robes. With a handsome, elegant face, and an otherworldly air, he smiled at me. Fellow Taoist, may we have a word? I looked up. Who are you? The man clasped his hands in greeting. I am Li Xuanji, sect master of the Heavenly Tao sect. I have come to personally invite you, fellow Taoist, to the Heavenly Tao banquet. The Heavenly Tao banquet? What's that? Aisha explained in a low voice. The Heavenly Tao sect is the most mysterious sect on the 9 heavens continent. Legend says they wield the authority of the Heavenly Tao. They hold a banquet once every 1,000 years. All who are invited are people of great destiny. I'm not interested. I'm not going. Li Xuanji's smile didn't falter. fellow Taoist, the otherworldly power you possess has already drawn the attention of the heavenly Tao. This banquet is not to cause you trouble, but to resolve this karma. Otherwise, when the heavenly tribulation descends, you may be unharmed, fellow Taoist, but I'm afraid the Wind Moon Pavilion will not be spared. The fishing rod in my hand paused. Aisha jumped up. You're threatening us. Li Xuanji shook his head. I am merely stating a fact. In 3 days, we will await your esteemed presence at Heavenly Tao Peak. After speaking, his figure faded and vanished without a trace. I was silent for a long while, then said to Nangang Qingyue, who had rushed over, I have to go on a long trip. You look after the place. Nangang Qingyue looked as if she wanted to speak, but held back and finally nodded. Senior, please take care. 3 days later, I arrived at Heavenly Tao Peak, riding on Asha. At the summit, a sea of clouds churned, with a white jade palace floating in the air. Li Xuanji greeted me in front of the palace, and led me inside. More than 10 people were already seated in the hall. All of them were ancestor-level figures from various sects. Their expressions were mixed when they saw me arrive. The banquet began, with spirit fruits, immortal wines, and a peaceful scene of song and dance. Li Xuanji raised his cup. A toast to our fellow Taoist for ridding the 9 heavens continent of demons. I took a sip of wine and said bluntly, get to the point. What do you really want from me? Li Xuanji put down his cup, his expression turning serious. Fellow Taoist, are you aware that the path you cultivate is not of this world? 100,000 years ago, the arrival of the system disturbed the workings of the heavenly Tao. Now that your swordsmanship is mastered, you've become an even greater destabilizing factor. It is the will of the heavenly Tao that you leave this world. Asha said angrily. Says who? It's not like we came here on purpose. Li Xuanji said lightly. The heavenly Tao can send you back to your original world. It can also strip the system from you and restore peace to this realm. The atmosphere in the hall froze. All the old ancestors turned to look at me. I put down my wine cup and smiled. And, if I don't go? Li Xuanji sighed. Then the heavenly Tao will have no choice but to forcefully erase you. Even with your heaven-piercing swordsmanship, I fear you cannot stand against the power of an entire world. I stood up, walked outside the hall, and looked up at the sky. Then let the heavenly Tao come and try. The moment my voice fell, dark clouds gathered in the sky and thunder began to roll. A terrifying pressure enveloped the entire heavenly Tao Peak. The faces of the old ancestors changed as they all fell back. Asha gritted its teeth. You old coot, so you really want to fight? I patted its head. Scared? Aisha raised its head high. Scared of what? The worst that can happen is being locked up for another 100,000 years. I burst out laughing. A bolt of lightning as thick as a mountain crashed down. I drew my saber towards the sky. The blade's light struck the lightning, and the world lost all color. The war against the heavenly Tao had begun. Lightning roared down like a dragon. With a backhand strike, the light of my saber slashed upwards against the torrent. The thunder dragon was split in two, and crackling lightning lit up the entire heavenly Tao Peak. The ancestors backed away in horror, while Li Xuanji, his face solemn, raised his hands to form a seal. The white jade palace erupted in a brilliant glow, transforming into a massive formation that enveloped the sky. The might of the heavenly Tao intensified, and a giant eye emerged from within the clouds. Cold and merciless, it looked down upon all living things. The giant eye turned and locked onto me. Then, a golden beam, imbued with the law of destruction, shot down, causing space to collapse in its wake. I raised my saber to block. The golden light slammed into the blade with a piercing shriek, and my feet sank 3 inches into the ground. The engravings on my saber flashed wildly. Ah, Sha snorted white vapor, its 4 hoofs, stamping the ground. Illusory dragon horns appeared on its head. It was about to reveal its true form. Not yet, I ordered in a low voice. This is just the appetizer. With that said, I flicked my wrist, and the light of my blade split into thousands of streams. Like fish swimming upstream, they slashed toward the giant eye. The giant eye closed. The golden light formed a barrier. The blade light struck it, creating ripples, but failed to break through. Li Xuanji's voice called out, Fellow Taoist, the power of the heavenly Tao is endless. Why must you resist? I grinned in response. If it's endless, then I'll just fight until it runs out. With that, I leaped into the air, charging toward the heavens. The giant eye opened again, shooting out 9 golden threads that interwove into a net, closing in on me. I slashed my saber again and again, but the golden threads were exceptionally resilient. For every thread I severed, 2 more grew in its place, ensnaring me ever tighter. Ah, Sha roared anxiously. Old man, use that move. I took a deep breath, sheathed my saber, and brought my hands together without letting them touch. In 100,000 years of training, I didn't just master the sword, but also its intent. Sword intent is formless, yet it can sever all things, including this so-called heavenly Tao. A speck of black light materialized in my palm. It started as a mere speck, then instantly swelled into a pitch-black vortex that devoured all surrounding light. Even the golden threads were pulled in, snapping, and dissolving into nothing. For the first time, the giant eye revealed an emotion, astonishment. Go! I thrust the vortex forward. It howled as it surged upward and crashed into the giant eye. The giant eye convulsed violently, shooting out chaotic beams of golden light. The clouds dispersed, revealing a starry, empty void. From the depths of that starry expanse came an angry roar. The heavenly Tao was wounded. Li Xuanji coughed up blood as the formation shattered. The terrified ancestors scattered and fled. I landed back on the ground, my body swaying slightly. That move consumed a great deal of energy. Ah, Sha trotted over. Are you alright? I wiped a trickle of blood from my mouth. I'm fine. It's not over yet. And sure enough, 7 pillars of rainbow-colored light descended from the starry void. Within each pillar, a figure materialized. Some held swords, others staves, and their auras were ancient and powerful. They are the heavenly Tao incarnations of all the ascended ones from history, Li Xuanji said, his voice trembling. The 7 heavenly tribulations. Fellow Taoist, you have triggered the ultimate punishment, I sneered. 7 against 1? How shameless. Then bring it on. The first incarnation struck, its sword light falling like the Milky Way. I drew my saber to meet the attack. The clash of the blades echoed through the 9 heavens. The incarnation's swordsmanship was masterful, embodying the supreme principles of the Tao. But my sword intent was far more ferocious. 100,000 years of arduous training have taken me far beyond mere technique. My one blade shatters all laws. After 100 exchanges, I annihilated the incarnation with a single slash, and the pillar of light vanished. The second avatar waved its staff, summoning heavenly fire, and a rain of fire poured down from the sky. The light from my blade formed a curtain as I charged up against the fire, shattering its staff and causing the avatar to crumble. With 2 tribulations defeated, the remaining 5 emerged at once, surrounding me in a joint attack amid a storm of flashing blades. A torrent of spells engulfed me. With a roar, Asha revealed his true form, a colossal black dragon. A sweep of his dragon tail forced back 2 of the avatars, but he was quickly ensnared by a golden light, unable to escape. I fought the 3 avatars alone, constantly facing mortal danger. A blade of light pierced through my left shoulder. My right leg was blasted by a magical sigil, and blood stained my robes crimson. But I only fought harder, my blade becoming ever sharper. 100,000 years of pent-up frustration were all unleashed in this one moment. Begone! With 3 furious shouts, the 3 avatars were annihilated one after the other. 5 of the 7 tribulations were gone. The remaining 2 were locked in a fierce battle with Asha. Panting, I steadied my breath and looked into the depths of the starry sky. A far more terrifying presence was brewing there. Li Xuanji collapsed to the ground, murmuring, "Impossible. No one has ever survived the 7 heavenly tribulations." I raised my blade and walked toward the final 2. It's time to end this. The light of my blade flared once more, like a rainbow piercing the sun. The 2 avatars resisted with all their might, but could not block my life or death strike and collapsed one after the other. Asha, now free, reverted to his donkey form. Damn, I'm exhausted. Though covered in blood and leaning on my blade, I looked to the heavens and roared with laughter. Heavenly Tao! Is that all you've got? The cosmos fell silent for a moment. Then, a boundless darkness descended, swallowing all light. Even sound disappeared, leaving only dead silence. In the darkness, a faint light appeared, an ancient sigil, slowly rotating. With each rotation, I felt my very soul tremble as if it were being torn from me. Ah, Sha cried out in terror. It's the primal sigil of the heavenly Tao. It's going to erase our very existence. I gritted my teeth, mustering the last of my sword will for one final, desperate stand. But the sigil suddenly stopped, and a soft, feminine voice rang out. That is enough. The darkness receded, and the starry sky reappeared. The phantom of a woman in white appeared. She was stunningly beautiful, but her eyes held the weariness of ages. She looked at me and sighed softly. Outlander, you have proven your worth. The heavenly Tao is willing to coexist with you. Li Xuanji fell to his knees, prostrating. I respectfully greet the manifestation of the heavenly Tao. The phantom woman waved her hand. Xuanji, this matter is concluded. Then, she turned to me and said, you may remain on the 9 heavens continent, but you must abide by 2 pacts. First, you shall not wantonly slaughter living beings. Second, you shall not teach the arts of another world and disturb the balance of this realm. I sheathed my blade. Agreed, the phantom woman nodded. A point of spiritual light flew from her fingertip and entered my forehead. This is the mark of the heavenly Tao. With it, you may travel freely between worlds, but in return, you must perform one service for the heavenly Tao every 100 years. The spiritual light entered my body. I felt a subtle connection to this world form within me, as if I had become a part of it. Asha also benefited, as a golden light began to emanate from his body. His wounds were completely healed. The phantom of the woman slowly faded away. The cosmos vanished, the clouds reformed, and peace returned to heavenly Tao Peak. The ancestors all looked at one another in shock. Li Xuanji stepped forward with a wry smile. Fellow cultivator, from this day forward, you are the emissary of the heavenly Tao. Your position is transcendent. We hope you will favor us. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him. I mounted Sha, turned, and descended the mountain, heading back to the Wind Moon Pavilion. Nangong Qingyue led a crowd out to welcome me. Seeing me covered in blood, they all turned pale with fright. I waved my hand to signal that I was alright, and then went into seclusion to heal my wounds. 3 days later, I emerged from seclusion, my injuries fully healed and my cultivation having advanced again, with the mark of providence now upon me. My perception now spanned thousands of miles. No movement on the 9 heavens continent could escape me. One day, while playing chess with Asha, I suddenly sensed a disturbance to the north. An ancient mystic realm had opened in the frigid expanse, stirring all the major powers into action. Nangong Qingyue came to ask if we should send people to investigate. I placed a chess piece. Go. You will lead the team yourself. Let Changxi and Zhuer go as well, for the experience. Nangong Qingyue accepted the order. 3 days later, she led 100 disciples north. I continued my game of chess. Asha muttered. What are you scheming now? I said lightly. There's something in that mystic realm that would be good for the Wind Moon Pavilion. Asha rolled her eyes. Go on, keep spoiling them. Half a month later, a message arrived from Nangong Qingyue. The struggle within the mystic realm was fierce. The Wind Moon Pavilion was besieged by multiple forces and trapped in a bitter fight. I put down my chess piece and said to Asha, let's go watch the show. The frigid expanse was sealed in ice for thousands of miles. The entrance to the mystic realm was a crevasse in a glacier. By now, it was stained red with blood. The women of Wind Moon Pavilion had formed a defensive formation, holding their ground to the death. Nangong Qingyue and Bai Ningning fought side by side, their red and blue swords weaving through the battlefield, but the enemy was too numerous, and they were gradually being overwhelmed. The attackers were led by the Netherworld sect. Their sect master, Old Monster Ming, was a 6th realm expert. Wielding his abyssal ice spike, his every move was lethal. Nangong Qingyue parried left and right, narrowly escaping one danger after another. Changxi and Zhuer protected their wounded sect sisters. Their wooden sword energy was depleted. They could only grit their teeth and hold on. Old Monster Ming laughed cruelly. So this is all the Wind Moon Pavilion amounts to. Hand over the key to the mystic realm, and I'll spare your lives. Nangong Qingyue sneered. In your dreams. Old Monster Ming flew into a rage. The abyssal ice spike transformed into a giant serpent and lunged downwards. Just then, riding on Asha, I arrived, treading across the ice. the giant serpent slammed into an invisible barrier of energy and shattered into pieces. Old Monster Ming's pupils shrank as he looked at me. "Who are you?" I cleaned out my ear. "Just passing by." Old Monster Ming couldn't sense my cultivation level and grew wary, but the temptation of the Mystic Realm's key was too great. He gritted his teeth and said, "Your Excellency, don't meddle in affairs that don't concern you." I just said, "Oh," then I raised my hand and slapped him into the glacier, his fate unknown. The members of the Netherworld sect were scared stiff and fled in all directions. I walked to the entrance of the Mystic Realm, took a look, then reached out and tore the crevasse wider, revealing the scene inside, an ancient ice palace. Inside, the palace was a 10,000-year snow lotus, just about to bloom. Nangong Qingyue was overjoyed. The snow lotus can help the disciples break through their bottlenecks. I nodded. "Go on in and pick it." After saying that, I sat down and closed my eyes to rest. Asha stood guard at the entrance, ready to take down anyone who dared approach. The women of Windmoon Pavilion went inside to gather the herb and returned with a bountiful harvest. On the way back, Nangong Qingyue asked softly, "Senior, why do you help us so much?" I opened my eyes. "Because I like you." She pressed her lips into a smile and asked no more. In the 100 years that followed, I fulfilled my pact with the Heavenly Tao, dealing with several calamities and reaping many benefits. The Windmoon Pavilion grew stronger day by day, becoming the #1 sect on the 9 Heavens continent. Chang Shi and Zhuor successively broke through to the 5th realm, and Bai Ningning took charge of the Hall of Punishment. The living red sword had become a treasured artifact of the pavilion. Asha would occasionally complain of boredom, so I would take her to travel through different realms to see countless new sights. One day, we returned to see the peach blossoms in the courtyard in full bloom. Changshi was brewing tea while Zhuer was trimming the flower branches. All was peaceful and serene. Sitting in my wicker chair, I suddenly recalled how anxious and bewildered I was when I first arrived in this realm 100,000 years ago. Yet now, I have put down roots. Perhaps this is what one would call fate. Ah, Sha sidled up to me. "What are you thinking about, you old fossil?" I ruffled its head. "About what to eat for dinner." Everyone laughed. The setting sun sank in the west, stretching our shadows, very, very long, model.